Hello there everyone, welcome back to Ants Authority. Today we will discuss about the topic how do ants get air in an ant farm. In this video we will discuss about this topic in detail, so let's start the video. Ants breathe through ventilation holes in an ant farm because they do not need large quantities of oxygen to energize their bodies. They use spiracles in the exoskeleton and store oxygen tracheal tubes by closing spiracles that can keep them alive for almost a day. You should design ant farm by keeping their requirements for oxygen in mind. Otherwise, you will lose your pet colony in a short time. We have seen ants living inside a closed setup artificially designed to mimic their natural habitat, lacking direct exposure to air. They are tiny insects requiring a smaller amount of oxygen to keep their bodies in a functioning state. They can live inside a sealed container for many hours without getting oxygen. The ant farms are adequately covered to minimize the escape routes because these insects are efficient escapers and make their way through holes. Moreover, there are ventilation holes in the ant farm, allowing air circulation inside the farm to keep these insects alive because they cannot live without oxygen for too long. The air inside the container can get stagnant when there is poor ventilation, leading to death of insects because their metabolic functions depend on oxygen. In addition, some people add a mesh cover on the top of the foam for gaseous exchange from inside the container to the outside environment and to maintain a balance. The whole size of the mesh should be smaller than that of the ant's body living inside the foam because they can sneak through holes and get out of the container. The air molecules enter the glass tank through diffusion when the oxygen molecules move from higher to lower concentration. A concentration gradient develops, allowing carbon dioxide molecules to move outside the container and supporting the entry of oxygen molecules within it. Furthermore, you have to ensure that nothing hinders the diffusion process from keeping the ant farm in running conditions, as lack of oxygen also affects the reproductive abilities of insects. The survival of ants in an ant farm depends on the conditions of the farm and their species because their lifespan varies among different species. Farm conditions include the availability of food, water or oxygen and the size of the container because a larger colony can feel suffocated within a small container. In the same way, the workers in a fire ant colony can live for only 5 weeks, but pavement ants can survive for almost 4 to 5 years and complete their life cycle. Proper ventilation and air exchange promote longer lifespan if all the other conditions are also good. Any interference in airflow can decrease their survival rate. The mesh or ventilation holes can clog due to poor cleaning practices and the air passages can get blocked when it gets covered with any object. Such blockage and clogging lead to airflow restriction and pose a risk to their survival. So you have to be careful and check the ventilation often. They can only survive for 20 to 24 hours within an airtight container because their bodies store oxygen molecules to use when they cannot breathe. So you have to keep an eye on the oxygen level within an ant farm to keep insects alive because the colony cannot avoid death after a day. Many people think that ants cannot breathe in an ant form due to the absence of a respiratory system or lungs in their bodies, but they have their own breathing mechanisms. Their bodies have tiny openings or spiracles for breathing purposes, allowing oxygen to get inside their bodies and carbon dioxide out of them. This misconception arises due to the closed structure of the form, as the containers usually have a lid or a mesh on the top, having no larger holes for ventilation. Many people do not know about ants' breathing behavior. They think they cannot breathe inside the foam and live without oxygen. It is not true because there are multiple tiny holes in the lid or upper edges of the glass container to ensure airflow within the glass container. Larger holes can lead to an escape of these tiny insects. That's why the foam is usually designed within tiny holes smaller than their body size. Thanks for watching the video.